Hello, my name is Scott Randalls, and I am the 2022 chair of the Society of Actuaries Nominating Committee. On behalf of the entire nominating committee, thank you for wanting to give back to our profession and showing interest in running for either president-elect or elected board member. I hope you will find this short video helpful for you to better understand the process. On this video, I will provide a brief, high-level overview of what to expect throughout the process. Topics will include key dates to remember, position criteria and expectations, a summary of the nomination process, an explanation of the ballot and petition process, and finally, some helpful reminders when it comes to campaigning and communications. As a reminder, all of this information and more can be found at soa.org/elections. I wanted to start out with some key dates to remember. First, beginning April 1st, a call for nominations will begin. At that time, you will find all the information on the SOA website, and you can express your interest for running for one of the positions. By April 29th, all election material is due back to the Society of Actuaries. On June 13th, nominees will be contacted whether they're placed on the ballot or not. And then by June 20th, nominees not chosen should contact the SOA if they want to begin the petition process. The petition process will run from June 30th to July 29th, and then the SOA election will run from August 22nd through September 9th. And then finally, September 13th or 14th, election results will be available. I wanted to talk a little bit more about becoming a candidate. I wanted to start with some of the position criteria that the nominating committee will be using to select the president-elect and elected board member for the ballot. Starting with president-elect, some of the qualities considered by the nominating committee will be leadership experience, visionary, ambassadorship, ethics and transparency, being a team player, and overall commitment. It will be important for the president-elect to be able to run a board meeting effectively. Also, it will be important that the president-elect will be a great ambassador for the profession in all of the speaking engagements and speaking opportunities that this person will have. For elected board member, many of the criteria are the same. Some of the criteria that the nominating committee will be considering are intellectual engagement and curiosity, stewardship, visionary, ethics and transparency, team player, and overall commitment. Remember, as an elected board member, you are one of 18 people that will need to work effectively across the entire board and their committees to be able to advance the profession. I wanted to talk a little bit about the position expectations and time commitments next. The president-elect commitment has been around 40 days of virtual and in-person meetings in the past. That recently has been less due to the pandemic. For the elected board member, speaking engagements are distributed among all the officers and board members. The board member term is 3 years long. The presidential term is 3 years, with the first year being president-elect and vice chair of the board, year 2 being president and chair of the board, and year 3 as past president. It is also expected as a board member or president-elect that you will attend all of the board meetings either virtually or in person. And there is expense reimbursement available for board members and president-elect to be able to meet that commitment. Now, I want to spend a little more time discussing the information that the nominating committee will gather as part of the selection process. As a reminder, an open call for nominations will start April 1st. That's open to all FSAs for both president-elect and elected board member. At that time, at soa.org/elections, a questionnaire will be published. You will be asked to provide answers to a series of questions on this questionnaire. The questionnaire is very important for the nominating committee as they will use the information you provide to match your skill sets to the needs of each position. Also, if you are selected to be on the ballot, the questionnaire will be made public to all voting members as part of the election process. Next, a third-party background check will occur. An external party will perform a background check and provide results back to Society of Actuaries staff. If anything problematic comes back on the background check, you will be given an opportunity to provide additional information. And finally, a nominating committee interview will take place. Each interview will be conducted by 2 nominating committee members and 1 SOA staff and be recorded and last approximately 30 to 45 minutes. The information will be recorded but kept confidential within the nominating committee so that other nominating committee members not present during the interview can understand and hear the answers that you provide. Sample questions can be found on the SOA election website, as well as scheduling work occur through this same website. I wanted to talk through the nominating committee process. The nominating committee is responsible for nominating candidates for election in accordance with SOA policies. The SOA Governance and Policy Committee of the Board of Directors, along with the nominating committee, identify the skills and experience that the board needs based on the initiatives in the strategic plan and other issues facing the SOA. The nominating committee then independently evaluates the qualifications of all candidates relative to the needs identified. The process generally is fairly competitive, and there are usually more submissions each year than spots on the ballot. The nominating committee is responsible to then pare this list down to 2 to 3 for president-elect, of which ultimately 1 will be elected, and then recommend 9 to 10 candidates to be placed on the ballot for elected board member, in which 5 will ultimately be elected. The nominating committee goes through a rigorous process in the review of all candidates and relies heavily on the answers to the questionnaires and interviews in the evaluation. Once the nomination committee confirms the list of nominees, the SOA board confirms and approves that the nominating committee followed appropriate policies in putting together the ballot. Once this occurs, the list of endorsed candidates for the ballot are established. All candidates will then be contacted and will be told whether they were selected to be an endorsed candidate on the ballot. Nominees that were not placed on the ballot have the opportunity to then put their name forward for the petition process. But only those candidates that went through the nominating committee vetting process are eligible to go through the petition process. Non-endorsed nominees need a certain number of petitions for a place on the ballot, and that is set at 10% of the previous year president-elect voters. Next, I wanted to provide a few reminders regarding communication from candidates. As a reminder, it is suggested that you not communicate in advance of being notified that you were placed on the ballot. The SOA does have a lot of resources available for candidates. All candidates will be provided a web page in which you can load bios, answers to the questions from the questionnaire, a photo, and you will have the opportunity to provide an optional video message if you wish. In addition, up to 2 emails can also be sent directly from the SOA to the voter community on behalf of your candidacy. Examples of these communications and further detail are on the election website. Some additional general guidelines to remember. We suggest that you present your views on issues from the SOA strategic plan. Avoid any negative references to SOA staff or SOA members, and you should not use SOA funds or staff resources except as explicitly permitted. Feel free to promote yourself via personal emails or on social media, but please keep in mind the importance of adhering to the communication policies and procedures that are established. I want to thank you for your time in watching this video, and hopefully you now have more clarity around the nomination process. One of the most important takeaways from this video are the key dates to the process. So once again, as a final reminder, starting April 1st, the call for nominations will open. Then by April 29th, all election materials are due back to the Society of Actuaries. The petition process will run from June 30th to July 29th. That will be followed by the SOA election, which will run August 22nd through September 9th. Final election results will then be available either September 13th or 14th. Other important dates to consider if you are elected. In October, there'll be an incoming board orientation. That will be followed by the October board meeting in Orlando, Florida on October 22nd and 23rd. Then in November, the leadership orientation meeting in Chicago will occur on November 10th and 11th. If you have any remaining questions, please refer to soa.org/elections for additional information. Also, you can contact Sherry Baker at sbaker@soa.org if you need any additional information. Thank you again for your interest and dedication to our profession.